40. Okay,
This ROC?
it's village, it's in both village mix and.
No, I know, but where's, you want? I don't remember, I couldn't tell where that line was, because when I was writing this decision in 2015, that was one of the issues that we were dealing with, it was in both.
Right,
And I couldn't
this
tell.
is purely in the one to the west to the RC.
Right, okay,
Yes.
yes, with
Yeah.
ROC,
Yes,
that's what I had.
the property is both, the project is all ROC.
No, I know, well, that's what I was deriving from blowing up the map on,
Yes,
off the website for the zoning district. It's really hard.
I had to go chase down the one from one of Kevin Harper's applications to get the exact spot for it.
So. Hi, Tom. Hi, John.
Hey, buddy. First, let me apologize for missing a couple meetings. I was traveling, but it's nice to be back with you. And
Yeah,
I
I know
also
you're-
wanted to say, during the time we were getting ready and waiting, Brenda, I enjoyed watching your cats behind you.
And John has all the mud from Burning Man cleaned off, right?
Not yet. Not yet, but yeah, I didn't come in tonight because I have a little cold. I'm being a little cautious with the COVID thing, so I'm doing it from home tonight.
You were at Burning Man though, right?
I
At least
was.
that was the rumor.
Oh yes, my 12th time in 16 years. If you want a quick report, the only reason there were headlines, I think, is because it was late summer. There's not enough news in late summer. They had something, but also, you know, if you go to Burning Man, you're supposed to be prepared. And I guess people panicked and weren't, or needed to be somewhere else. And, you know, it's 100 miles at the end of the road. So it's kind of hard to get on and be somewhere the next night. So a few people panicked, but the rest of us were prepared and we stayed and
Wrote it out.
it was fine. There's nowhere else to be. So it was good.
Good.
Keep the hype.
All right, we ready to roll?
We are.
All right, where's my agenda? Here it is. All right. Meeting will come to order. This is the October 10th, 2023. Peggy here?
No, I was gonna touch base on that and.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to describe minutes from the recording.
Okay.
We have no recording secretary. Peggy resigned. About a month ago.
Oh, bummer.
Yep,
Back to the old days.
Yeah,
Which weren't so fun.
we posted an advertisement multiple times for somebody new.
Okay.
We'll try.
Peggy was
All
great. So good luck. I hope we get something else.
Yeah,
Me too.
it makes a huge difference, writing the decisions. All right, so, we don't have any old business. We're gonna do Masterson after this.
Yep, we'll
Okay.
discuss it after this.
All right, so new business is permit number 23-501, Bristol Fire Department, 79 West Street. Parcel number 225036 for site plan review. For a fire training facility per the Bristol Unified Development Regulations, Article 3, Section 390. And I guess, Chris, you're presenting this?
That is correct.
All right, you got it. I'm swearing him in.
All right, and Brett may eventually talk
You
to you.
can
so I
talk
might
to
as well-
Brett. All right, so do you solemnly swear that the evidence you shall give before this development review board shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, you want to walk us through the application? Now, there was this one photo or it was like a schematic and it showed a red box, this one.
Yes,
Is the red box where this thing
the
is
physical
going?
location, yeah.
All right, why don't you put that one?
All right, sounds great.
This is site, we're in ROC. I don't think the application is correct with respect to setbacks. I look at ROC, well, maybe not. You got rear yard, I see rear yard at 10 feet. And side yard at 10 feet.
Chris, I know you're testifying, but you're gonna put it up too?
I'm trying right now.
Okay,
This says rear yard setback 50.
That is what the setback is. That's how far we are from the line.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you're 50 feet off the
hang on,
line,
I
so
got
you
to
meet.
share this with them real quick. Sorry, I apologize. Multi, there we go.
All right, so, Chris has told us that the red box is the, proposed location, and we're 50 feet off the rear,
Yep,
and what are we off the side?
about 45-ish.
Okay, all right, so we've got, the standard is 10 on side and 10 on rear.
Yep, so the other thing you're seeing here is the green overlay that you see in this picture
Yeah,
is where if there's a police station built, this is where the drawings for that police station and parking lot would occur. Not that it matters to you all, but that's all. I just wanted to clarify what those lines were.
yeah.
Yeah, I was, Chris, I'm glad you told us that because I was going to ask where the police station would go. But can I ask, since this facility is way back in the corner, how would you get to it? You would just walk across the grass right now if the police station is not built?
Correct, or there will be a small gravel drive about halfway out to it.
Okay. From the existing parking lot?
That is correct. It would come from, you see where the bend here is? It would be,
Yeah.
it would extend out from there. Whoops. Just a small gravel parking lot, potentially a very short-term solution is once the police station occurs, this lower block is a parking lot, and this is how we would enter.
Yeah, and that is that elevation relatively flat, or does it drop off there?
No, we're sitting right at the edge. The drop off occurs to the west and to the south. It does pitch to the east. There are 2 retaining ponds in the eastern corner, so it all slopes that way. So any water that's used will naturally flow into the existing stormwater facilities.
So the green box that connects to Firehouse Drive, that'll be a parking lot, and the police station be right behind the firehouse?
Correct. This green box here is the estimated location for a police facility.
Police station, yeah.
Can I ask, I know this is anecdotal, doesn't need to be testimony, but I have been reading and following in the paper on the select board's discussion on that. Is that likely to be the freestanding building as opposed to the one as part of the building? I noticed this was even less expensive even. Is that where they're sort of heading?
That is my understanding at this point. That is where they're headed.
Okay, cool. Well, this looks like a good master plan, and I'm glad to see this as part of what you were doing. I was going to ask about that, so it's great.
Yeah. So in the packet, there was 2 pictures of some large red structures. I can switch over to those. I'll switch to one of them here real quick. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, so just back up for a sec. I'm just looking at the permit application, and there's a few things missing. So what district is this in? Did you say Rock, the residential office commercial?
ROC.
ROC. Yep. And the permit, there's no permit number, parcel number, any of that stuff at the top.
Well, it's the 2 point, well, I read the parcel number,
Okay.
parcel number 225-036.
This is a copy of the original application before I touched it. The fact that I'm presenting it, I was gonna wait and continue this through. The parcel number is on both the agenda and on the warning for this.
Cool. Well, the permit application is incomplete, so just noting that. What use is this proposed as? How do you categorize this use?
Absolutely, that's what I was just gonna go over here. Let me just share this picture here. Oops, I shared the wrong thing. I shared my screen. I'm usually much better at this.
It's the pressure being under oath.
It is. Okay, so this structure here, as you see, what it will be is it's actually 4 what we call connex or shipping containers that we acquired. There'll be 3 along the bottom, 1 on top. This will be a training structure that we utilize for a wide variety of things. One of the big challenges we have currently is we don't have a great place as a fire department to do a lot of structural training. The structure will be open at the bottom with some doorways cut between the 3 boxes, a stairwell leading up to the upper floor. You see this diagonal flat thing, that's a roof prop, there's a chimney prop
But there's a wall on the first floor that we're seeing there, right, or is it open?
It's, the picture is open, this will all be boxed in, there will be no opening from the exterior,
Okay.
it'll all be exterior red.
Okay. Steel,
The one of the big things that we would be utilizing this for is smoke and heat training as well. We can't actually have live fire in the physical structure where the training occurs. What will occur is in the southern center box, there'll be a room partitioned off that'll have a wood boiler like you would in a standard home. That will be piped instead of out a chimney. The chimney is going to pipe into these boxes. Firefighters will then enter, perform everything from search and rescue to water supply. We've got the chimney properties here that would to be able to simulate a chimney fire. All of the things that are required for us to be able to do our tasks and serve our community. This has been something that we've been looking at for a while. And right now, for us to do this type of training a few weeks ago, we actually had to go down to Middlebury to do something, to use some of their space. And instead of being a 2-hour training, the folks were there for many hours between travel and setup, and we were hoping to have something like this in our own backyard.
Chris, does an outside company contract to do this whole thing, build it out of the containers?
No, sir, the fire department itself will be constructing this.
Pursuant to like a plan that's been worked out, or has this been a locally derived plan? I mean,
This design is something that I did, and then and I've been working. We have a committee with myself and 3 other firefighters. One who happens to be a fabricator for a living. He gives me ideas, I turn them into drawings, and that's where we got to where we are.
so
cool.
what's the exterior, is it metal, to look?
Yep.
Sheet steel, so that's gonna be
They're
somehow.
containers.
Well, I know, but the containers don't have is there some sort of cladding on the container to create that effect?
That's what they're all ribbed.
They're all ribbed.
Yep, they're red ribbed containers.
Okay,
And the 4 that we purchased are all identical, they're all red. Part of our long-term maintenance budget or annual maintenance budget is actually repainting these structures.
they're gonna sit on a pad,
They'll sit on a gravel pad.
gravel.
It will not be
So
concrete.
I have one question. I've worked with containers a lot because we brought them down to Haiti and built YMCA's out of them. But the one thing I'm actually curious about is that you're going to obviously cut the sides out of 2 of them, but the middle one, you're going to cut the sides out of both. Are they going to be completely open, or are you just going to have doors through them? Or
Yeah.
I mean, structurally, that one is a little more tricky because it's you're going to, if you're opening it up completely in the below space.
He's not opening it up.
Yeah.
Completely.
The picture you're seeing here, the lower box, you see the whole side missing, that was a cutout just to be able to see inside of the structure when I presented this at another meeting. So it'll be solid on the outside. On the inside, there'll be 2 doorways cut between from box 1 into box 2, and there'll also be 2 doorways cut from box 2 into box 3.
So there'll still be a wall, a lot of wall to hold up to hold up the roof.
Yeah, there'll be a roughly 30 feet of standing steel between the boxes on the ground level.
They're very strong anyway. They really are. They don't move around a lot. You're great. And the actual doors, that you're undoubtedly going to seal, they're going to be to the back of the site where you would not see them really.
2 of them actually face towards the currently it would have them facing towards west, towards the current fire station,
right?
Facing to the north, and the center one will be facing to the south towards the All Earth Renewables building that's being currently constructed.
And will they be functional?
Yes, we are going to leave the existing container doors on the containers. So when it's not in use, they'll be closed up. They'll look like standard containers. They'll all be uniform. When we use them, as you open them up, there will be faux doors on the inside for training purposes. And then when we're done, we close it up, lock it up. There will be, it'll look just sort of like what you see here in this picture.
So the short side of the rectangle is north and south, right?
That is correct.
And so the doors will be on the north and the south.
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay. Any other questions about the structure? Anything else you want to tell us, Chris?
So, one of the, again, like I said, we will be using a wood boiler that we would use in a standard home, so to not, increase more smoke than would be as if there had been a single family home here. From a noise standpoint, that's one of the concerns that folks have had that I've spoke to. We currently train, every Wednesday evening, or 2 Wednesdays of every month. We currently do a lot of that training just standing outside. We pull our trucks in the driveway and we do these same trainings. We've done like the roof prop that you see there, when we have one that's freestanding that we sit there and we cut with a chainsaw. Currently, so that would be the noise aspect. It's not going to generate more noise than what we currently do through our current trainings we're anticipating. The other piece would be lighting. There will be no electricity in this structure. All lighting that will be brought forth would be our remote scene lighting that we use. They're all LED lights that we turn on, do our training, shut them off at 9 and go home.
The standards that you see on construction sites where they're up on a pole with
Nope,
a generator or?
no, they're actually, we have box lights, or we would be utilizing the lights off of our truck.
Oh.
This is a small question, but obviously the chimney you said is a simulated chimney. How will you actually, what do you use for exhaust on the boiler?
So like I said, it's gonna come off the top of our Caleb, who's been, designing this and who's getting ready to fabricate this. It'll come off, instead of a chimney that goes straight up like a normal one, it's actually gonna come up and make a 90-degree turn into the container. And it'll be ducted in throughout the structure, throughout the 3 lower containers. The upper container will naturally get smoke because, of course, smoke rises.
So you're going to use it to create heat and actual interior smoke?
That is correct.
Okay. And then do you have a way to ventilate that smoke out when you don't want it anymore?
Yeah, they aren't shown here. Caleb's working on a series of floor vents. And also by actually just opening the two rear door, or one rear door and one front door, should cause enough cross ventilation. We've got a mechanism where when it's not pushing smoke into the structure, it'll just be coming straight up a chimney versus flowing into. So it's a louver, a damper.
Diverter, some kind of diverter. Yeah. Okay. It's very cool. Very interesting.
Sounds like a very cost-effective way to get your job done.
This is one of the things we looked at when we started looking designing this, was what it costs for us to go to the Vermont State Fire Academy. And Brett can give me those numbers. I don't remember.
Yeah, if we wanted to send down a dozen of our personnel on a Saturday to the Vermont Fire Academy, which is down in Pittsburgh, Vermont. Well, first of all, you're removing half of your resources out of town, replacing them out of service, but you'd be looking at approximately $3,500 just for the day to train. Repeat a couple of things Chris says. A Conex box training facility in the fire service is the standard. I mean, the burn buildings down at the Vermont Fire Academy, they're not Conex boxes down there, but it is a metal facility. And this is what is constructed all over the country because they are affordable. You know, we're fortunate at the Bristol Fire Department to have personnel with skills other than firefighting and, you know, people who donate their time to be able to put something like this together. Because there was a time when it seemed on an annual basis, we would obtain what they call an acquired structure. You know, someone was preparing to demo a home. They asked the fire department, we want to burn it down. And there's a permitting process with that, which is lengthy. There's still a cost associated with it. However, those opportunities don't come along often anymore. And it's just as well, because when they do, you know, burning in a populated area, when you're burning things that aren't just class A materials, you know, ordinary wood or hay or something, people, they get a little excited about it. And we certainly don't want to generate any hard feelings with our neighbors. And that was part of this process as well, ensuring our neighbors were on board with doing something there.
And it's safe for your personnel.
Yeah, so this training structure, if you're familiar with the National Fire Protection Association standards, NFPA 1402 is the national standard on training structures. And this facility, as we assured the select board, will be in compliant with NFPA 1402 to ensure all safety features and mechanisms are built in. Just as one small example, the doors to the facility, they swing outward. They must be set up in a training structure to be egress doors. That's just one small example, but not only to put the select board's mind at ease, but also Vermont Leagues of Cities and Towns, who ensures us. We want to make sure we're providing a training structure that is in compliant with national standards.
You have to get a public building permit from fire safety?
I don't know if we do, because there's no occupancy in it.
Well, I mean.
I'll reach out to Josh and I think that's, yeah.
Yeah, well, Josh, does he come up this far?
Yeah.
Okay. It's worth a question.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as it is, we have to go, there'll also be an Act 250 amendment that's required for this.
Really?
I reached out. Yeah, it's, because the property sits under Act 250 and this is a physical structure being placed on the site, so an Act 250 amendment is required, so.
I expect it to be a minor.
It is, that's what Josh, he's looked at, I've submitted a lot of this documentation to the state for his review. And he felt this would be a very basic review on his part.
Yeah. I would expect you need a permit from public safety, but maybe not.
I will gladly reach out and ask.
Well, I continue to be in awe of all the training that volunteer firemen are required to get. Thankful that they're willing to do it. So if we can make it even a little bit easier and them a little bit safer by putting this in town, I think this is great.
I may offer one additional comment.
Sure.
Just regarding training, thank you, Tom, for bringing that up. You know, one of the biggest challenges in the volunteer fire service is recruitment and retention. And as Chris noted earlier on, you know, having opportunities where firefighters can actually work on their competency and proficiency in their particular skill sets when it comes to hose handling, ladder deployment, you know, moving through a structure with their very heavy, bulky, damaging gear that you would not want to do inside the town's fire station or someone's residential property. So this provides that platform. This training facility, just as that fire station on West Street, that is a recruitment tool in itself. And having immediate access to it is only going to make your already very competent fire department that much better.
I foresee the next time you get a group of kids out to look at the fire engines, they'll all want to see this too. So I think it is kind of a good recruiting tool.
Well,
Not that you're going to train them, but they'll just want to see it.
you have any questions, Brenda or John? John?
So,
Go, John.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch which use we're considering this under.
It's under the existing emergent with hold on. I had it and I lost it.
Emergency Services Facility.
Emergency Services Facility under the ROC, which requires site plan review.
All right. And I want to go back to the zoning permit application, which is not complete or signed. So I'm not sure why that is in this instance, but could we get that complete as a matter of formality?
It is complete on my desk. I'm looking for it as we speak.
Chris says he has it, so
Right. Well,
go ahead.
I have a question.
Go,
I have
Brenda.
a question. How far is this from the new apartments and houses that have just been built up there? I couldn't.
The new apartments are right across the street.
And
But
so
this-
if
It's
they're
at the
sitting
back
out,
of the lot.
if they're sitting out there in the summer and enjoying the weather, and there's smoke coming out of this thing here, has anyone found out whether they'll be happy with that?
Well,
The owner of the land before it was sold, this has been something that's been in the works for a while.
I'm sorry, just one
And-
thing, Chris, if you don't mind, could we go off so we could see each other
Oh,
better?
absolutely. Yes,
Could we
absolutely.
please Get back.
I think go back to this one.
Thank you.
This is what you want. So John, I don't know if you
Yeah.
can see it, but this copy of the application is complete.
What is the fee paid?
Fee paid is waived because it's a town structure,
What is the
the
date?
town of
received?
Bristol.
We missed you, John.
what is the date received?
Date received is 9/25/2023. Permit number is 23501. Parcel number 225036. The signature of the applicant was Chief Brett LaRose. Signature from the landowner was Valerie Caples, Town Administrator.
And your decision on it down below with the signature?
He has to forward it to us.
It's a site plan review, so it's automatically forwarded to the Development Review Board.
Okay, thank you.
So I haven't received an answer to my question. Has there been any thought about the effect that this will have on the people who will be, or perhaps are already living in the apartments across the road?
They're there.
They're there.
They're already, okay. Has anyone, Chris, you said you interviewed the neighbors. Did you interview these people?
They weren't in in those structures when we first started this process.
Ah,
Again, I did speak with one of the neighbors who is actually going to be the closest, which would be the neighbor to the west, just to let him know that we were looking at doing something like this, and he thought it was a great idea.
Who's that?
Jamie Nelson.
Oh, to the west. And
The only thought I have in that regard, I think the placement is good because it's in the back of that lot. And as you pointed out, there's some natural obstruction there. But if neighbors were concerned about it, if someone objected to it, you could put some kind of landscape buffer. I'm not terribly worried about the smoke. This isn't going to put out so much smoke that anybody's going to affect it. But it's not the prettiest thing, I guess, from across the street, but it's pretty far. I mean, it's in the back of the lot, not in the front.
yeah,
but
I mean-
the housing goes right up along there.
Yeah, but
No.
it's across the street. On the
It's about 200 feet away, I would estimate,
Okay,
maybe 150.
Well,
What
they're
direction is-
pretty far.
what
the
direction?
lot's not about 196 feet wide. The houses are set back from the sidewalk a bit. So yeah, it's probably 200 feet to the building, but it's a straight open shot of lawn.
yeah, there's no barriers at all there.
Yeah.
No, and that was
Prevailing wind.
What's that, John?
What direction is the prevailing wind there? I
It
believe it's west
depends.
to east. Well, it matters if you live downwind. So if 90% of the time the wind is blowing west to east, it matters if what's east.
Wasn't the testimony that Chris gave us that it wasn't going to have any more smoke than an ordinary house boiler?
Yeah, that's correct. We're putting in a
So
standard.
that's not a lot of smoke. I mean, you don't worry about smoke from a next door house.
At any given time, in the winter, in a space, just much smaller, than this area, that this facility is gonna be in, there's 20 wood stoves popping away, burning full blast in the winter. And this is not gonna affect anyone, to any degree, in my opinion.
I don't know that we have any testimony that to show that one way or the other. I mean,
No,
we don't know.
we had Chris testified that it wouldn't have any more smoke than an ordinary house boiler, which is not a lot of smoke.
Is it a boiler or what is the device that creates the smoke?
Right now, we currently have a used wood boiler that would be the same as that you would place in your basement of your home. That is our
Is that you
preferred.
just let it fill the space up with smoke and people train in that?
That is correct.
And then when you release it, you're going to be releasing it out of floor vents, not a chimney.
In the doors on each end.
Yeah,
Right,
it
so
depends how
it's
rapid.
at ground level, not channeled up a chimney.
It depends. It depends on what the training is and how rapidly we need to remove smoke. If it's one where we actually want to leave smoke in that structure for the bulk of the training, the chimney that you see on the pictures would be the primary vent system. If it's one where if there was a firefighter in trouble, if we needed to rapidly, again, for NFPA standards, we have to be able to rapidly evacuate the smoke and heat from the structure. That's when the doors would be swung open all the smoke would be cleared out. The actual number of times that we would be burning in this is minimal. That's not its primary function. Its primary function is that we have a structure where we can throw ladders, we can be in a dark cavernous structure where we can simulate being in a building during a fire. The smoke would be I don't know, I don't see us using it half a dozen times a year, I'm guessing, for it to actually have live smoke in that thing.
You
Did
feel
the
that's good
training.
estimate, Mark?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm-
No, John, I didn't want to interrupt you. Go ahead.
The trainings
just
are
wanna-
weekly, potentially?
So we currently our training schedule is, we essentially train 3 times a month. One of those trainings is on the first Wednesday when we have our staff meeting, which is essentially our equipment and vehicle inspection, where we're outside literally running the trucks, running saws, making lots of noise at between 6 and 7 o'clock in the evening. And then we train 2 Wednesday nights in the evening. But please keep in mind, this is not all the Bristol Fire Department does. We will not be using that building even every month. And we certainly won't be generating heat and smoke each time we use it, just to follow up what Chris stated. There will be a couple of times a year we'll actually generate heat and smoke.
That's all?
That's all.
Not 6? Okay,
That's all.
okay.
Well,
Yeah, I
I,
certainly appreciate the concerns, Brenda, you had regarding neighbors, as the person who gets many phone calls to deal with smoke that's an irritant, and that's caused by people burning brush or people burning something they shouldn't be burning. That's what generates the complaints. But yeah, just ordinary wood smoke out of a boiler, it's no different than a wood stove.
but it's not channeled up the chimney, or the chimney that's shown doesn't appear to reach above the required a height of the building, right? To get it above the building.
That's
That is
not a
correct.
the testimony that's not a functional chimney. That's just for, that's a
I'm
different.
sorry, I thought I heard Chris say that it could be vented up that chimney at times.
Yeah, Tom, that would be, it is a functional chimney because we actually want to be able to utilize it if we do have heat and smoke in it
Okay.
to simulate
I
a
misunderstood.
chimney
I thought
fire.
I thought that chimney was part of the training part of it. Okay.
I missed that.
As you
It's
know,
cool.
as I'm sure you all know, the reason chimneys have there's a distance that they stick above roof lines is to get whatever they're exhausting up and out of the eddy of the building, so it leaves the ground level, you know. That's part of the reason. For example, commercial ventilation systems have to be above the roof line so that they don't, you know, succumb
Right.
to the eddy. So it does matter where you release the smoke, right?
Correct.
So that's a consideration for us, I think. Have you guys talked to the neighbors downwind of you? The new housing, or the owners, about this?
Most of them have just moved in. When we started this project, that was still under construction. Matter of fact, during during the planning phase of this project, we actually trained in one of the duplex buildings as it was being constructed.
Idea.
I did reach out to, and have had many conversations with our closest neighbor, which is not a residential neighbor, but yet a commercial neighbor, which is Mr. Blittersdorf. And he's well aware of what we're doing and was strongly supportive of our project.
These neighbors are going to get legal notice of the hearing, right?
They did,
Yeah.
Well, the neighbor is Firehouse Apartments, right?
correct. It was
Oh,
mailed
I
to Firehouse Apartments LLC and
It's an offshoot of Addison County Community Trust.
Yeah.
And
Except
that was
that
the entity.
I don't know what they're doing, but best practice always when you get that kind of notices, usually to send copies to all your tenants, but I don't know whether they're doing that. I don't know whether it's a legal requirement. I just know everybody does it.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know what they did, but that whole development was Addison County Community Trust and for partnership with the town, and they formed for regulatory reasons or block grant reasons, they formed an entity called Firehouse Apartments, which is a limited partnership, and that's the entity that actually owns the apartments, the affordable housing that are built on the east side of that Firehouse Lane.
I mean, residents or neighbors, whether they're renters or owners, get notice in zoning here, like in these kinds of procedures, don't
Not
they?
rent-
Not limited to
not-
property
no,
owners.
Owners do, property owners
Owners-
get notice.
Owners do, but that's what I was saying, John. I know it's best practice to give it out to individual tenants, normally done, but I don't think that's a legal requirement. I think it's just what people usually do.
And when I posted the meeting poster for this project, it's actually posted on the Firehouse Drive side in what we call our antique bay, which faces one of their driveways that pulls out of their building. So I was very intentionally placed to get as much exposure to our new neighbor tenants as I humanly could with the signage.
With signage.
I mean, but I don't have time to knock on the door, but I mean, that was a very,
Well,
I could have placed it on the West Street side.
there's mailings, it's not.
Yeah.
Oh, they all have an address, right? You send them a letter, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway,
I always knock on the doors of my neighbors when I do something like that and talk to them, but that's.
so does anybody, Tom or John or Brenda or Ted have any more questions?
I do have questions.
No, I'm ready to vote.
I'm not.
No.
So this, our bylaws are structured. We all educated ourselves, not Tom, because he was off on safari. And not John, because he was at Burning Man, but we worked our way through site plan review last time around on another application, and it's a little funky. Because it refers back to this 390 refers back to sort of one half of the conditional use criteria, which is 356. So we go through those considerations, and we've talked about most of them, but the one that's jumping out at me is number 3. Applicants shall demonstrate that they have incorporated landscaping features into the design. Well, it says trees, shrubs, fences, walls, gardens, open space, or other features into a design to reduce any impacts their use of the property might have on neighboring properties that will enhance the appeal of the use proposed. So, I mean, I totally see the utility of this. It seems like a great idea. But it seems to me that we have to take into account, we've got a lot of affordable housing, and the fact that it's affordable housing doesn't matter. We have a lot of residences right across the street there in an open shop. And I remember when we did the Blittersdorf development property, which is the one immediately to the south, we were concerned about screening, and we made them put in some hedging. So on the other hand, I see the future development possibilities, maybe even probability of a police station and a parking lot. My thought, what I'm kicking around is, those apartments go pretty far to the south, not all the way, but pretty far. And there is a view there, and I'm thinking we ought to have, or at least consider as a board, whether there's any landscaping along Firehouse Lane, to the east of the project and perhaps to the south. I don't remember. We don't see it here where if the Blittersdorf property already has landscaping on its north border. I don't remember.
It does not yet.
Yeah, well, I mean, but is it required as part of the
Yeah.
CU?
That's part of it.
So if he's got to put that in, so we don't need to worry about, and that's going to be a factory production facility. We don't, that's less of a concern, but my thought is we need to see, or at least I throw out to the board, something from the possible driveway connector to Firehouse Lane running along that western border of Firehouse Lane to provide some visual screening to the apartments. So
Yeah, I'm in favor of that as well. I don't care about any screening for the industrial building. I don't think it's necessary, but I would like to see some kind of screening. I don't think it needs to be a full hedge or anything, but something out there along Firehouse Lane that obscures the visibility back to it. I think that's a good addition.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me, that a cedar hedge would work, but there could be other things, it's not our job to design it.
So there's currently 6.
I know there's some maple trees.
Right,
there.
what I was gonna say is staying within.
Well, I don't know if they're maple trees, I spoke too soon, there's 6,
Hardwood of some.
yeah, they're along the west side of the sidewalk.
Mhm.
But they're gonna be tall. So maybe, but that's a consideration, so maybe there's something, back a little bit from those trees and lower to, break up the view from the street, those are.
Sure.
The other thing I'm thinking is those are deciduous trees.
Right.
Maybe the screening ought to be on the other side of the stormwater ponds, but not so close to the building as to, impair its functionality. North of the driveway from the maybe parking lot that might appear, and maybe we cross that bridge if and when we come to it with a police station. There might be some screening, needed up there as well. I wouldn't want to
But
have the.
But wouldn't we do
Go
that
ahead.
when we get to the police station? I think we need a little
Yes,
screening
that's what,
for this building.
that's what I'm saying. We need to, I would leave that area alone because we don't know what's coming.
Yeah, I'm okay with leaving that alone, but a little screening for this building would be good, I think.
I think
Yeah.
a lot of screening for this building would be good, not a little, but it's a pile of containers, which is all well and good, and I like unusual architecture myself, but it's containers. And
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
so-
you're right.
and
It's got height.
and the apartments across the street are not just on ground level, but have a second story at least. And
Yeah.
that they need to be screened from the second story. So I'd like to see a layered approach to screening. There's already a few nice deciduous trees planted along the street there, but it'd be nice to see some consideration given to long-term, low down and higher up screening. So maybe more deciduous trees that get tall, maybe some cedars that stay shorter.
No, yeah, I hear you.
So
The,
I'm on that end of the landscaping thing. And just, if I may, just because it's related, I really would like to see a more cohesive, detailed site plan of this. I think it was mentioned in the presentation that there will at times be trucks pulling up to this. You'll use the lights on the trucks to do this and sort of thing. One question I have is whether any training will happen outside. Let me assume for a moment that yes, some training will happen outside. That make me aversive to the proposal, but makes me consider more so the screening and a proper presentation of access to this site by way of a gravel road or whatever I think Chris mentioned earlier. But I'd like to see it. It's hard to make a decision without seeing it.
Yeah. I mean, John's point is well taken as to what these are going to look like. They're utilitarian. They need to be. They're not architecture for to be designed to be aesthetically pleasing, and that's why they're valuable and needed by the fire department. On the other hand, they're not going to be all that
Pretty.
consistent with the use on the other side of the property. We've got a pretty good concentration of people there. And so I think we need to take their interests. Well, we're supposed, we have to, it says shall. And I guess the one out is, well, it's open space. Is it far enough away that we shouldn't care? And it's, in my view, it's not so far away from the apartments that we shouldn't care. Yeah.
I agree.
So, but on the other hand, at present, I would find it really hard I don't want to write a decision that says, give us some landscaping. But I think we need to.
I think we need to suggest to the applicant that there's at least 3 of us that are concerned about that. Maybe some screening could be worked up and let them design it themselves.
Yeah, no, I think we want, so when we take that approach, we need to adjourn to a date certain. And Chris and Brett and whoever else can try and work on some screening, and maybe the approach is to the west of those stormwater ponds, but maybe not. And we leave, everything to the north of the park, the proposed parking lot alone for now, because we don't know what's going in there, and we don't want to have to tear something out because we're building a fire or a police station. So if we focus on the area south of the driveway in green, and to try to provide good screening for those apartments, how far out do you want to go for a date certain? If
I was just gonna say that I would agree with John's concern. If we're gonna ask them to submit some more, I wouldn't mind seeing exactly what's proposed in terms of a road connection to the existing parking lot that will, and then, you know, if it's subsumed in a new parking lot, it'll just become less of that. But I think we should see that, you know.
Yeah, no, I think it's important now that we have this pretty elaborate set of standards for site plan, and there's a lot of, at least in the village, there's a lot of uses that have an asterisk next to them as far as it's a permitted use, but they have to get site plan review. That we actually need proper site plans. You know, we didn't have one on Garfield Street a month ago, 6 weeks ago. Now, and we ended up, you know, we got the wastewater survey, and you know, it had some stuff on it, but it's not a site plan. And so I think if we're going to be doing a lot of site plan reviews, we should actually have proper site plans.
Not a problem.
When do you want to adjourn to?
Could I just add a few other items that I'd like to see addressed to,
Go ahead.
and then consider a date certain? I know that the application says there are no external lights proposed, but it is a pretty large structure. I mean, its footprint is almost 1,000 square feet. It's 2 stories, so it's a pretty big thing. It's a sort of a 2,000 square foot cube, you know, or shape. I don't know. I didn't catch. Did I miss? Is it going to be set on? Is there a construction phase? Is it going to be set on a slab or something like that?
Gravel. Going on gravel.
Just on a gravel, but on like a gravel prepared gravel pad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd like to see that represented in the plan. And I can't believe you wouldn't, just for safety or something, consider some exterior lighting, even if it's very dim, you know, and it should be down lighting, but and you know, I would want to address the issue of, if you found in the future the need for more lighting, that it definitely comport with the regs in terms of being down lighting.
Speak to the lighting.
Sure.
Yeah.
John, may I speak to your lighting question?
Please.
So today, first I want to understand, when we walked away here, if the shrubbery, the landscaping is to shield the building and not shield vehicles and lighting that the vehicles produce, or portable lights, because we do that today in very close proximity to those apartments. There's a fire hydrant right there on the corner of Firehouse Drive. And we got trucks, pumps screaming, we got that entire back lawn lit up. But again, we only train regularly twice a month, and it's not always right there in the backyard of the fire station. I certainly hear your concerns, but from my perspective, there is no plans, nor do I have any interest in sinking any of the town's money into the infrastructure required to bring out lighting. We have adequate portable scene lighting, LED lights that we carry on our vehicles. That's all we use out in the field anyway. So I'd like to put my opinion out there that installing permanent type lighting is nothing this group was tasked with considering, nor do I even see that as part of the project in the future.
Well, it is part of what we have to consider.
Sure, no, I understand.
But I don't.
I hear your point.
If that's their testimony, it's easy enough for us to just say it'll be an unlit building, which means they'd have to, in theory, come back if they ever wanted to do it. So, you know, if they're not going to light it, they can say they're not going to light it.
I agree. I mean, lighting's not required. We're supposed to look at is, will the lighting be obtrusive to neighbors?
Fair enough. But since they're saying they're not going to light it, I prefer the idea of saying it won't be lit. John's not wrong. If they ever did light it, it should be lit, properly shielded, and all the rest of that. But they're saying they're not going to light it. So,
and our regs require that already. They'd have to comply with the lighting performance standard. But to answer your question, Chief, so the the board's here because of the building, so you're screening the building in some way to shield its view, the view shed from the apartments, the residential apartments.
Oh, I completely understand that.
So,
Yeah.
but how do you do it?
Can we
And
put
you've
a
got,
fence up?
what's that?
Can we put a fence up?
Propose one.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
can do that. I personally like landscape screening better, but you can propose a fence. Absolutely.
I
Be a
mean,
kind of thing, you know?
right, but what we're not gonna do is give advisory opinions.
No,
here.
it's a question, and they're right. They could screen with a fence. Fences are speaking to.
Fencing is one way, that, because section 3 mentions it. Um. Some fences are good, some might not be good, but so, I mean, I think the thing to do is to think about how to address the concerns and come up with, the way that makes, sense to you, but, you know, we're looking to the fire department to be a good neighbor on this, that's all.
And how tall would the fence have to be to shield you know, neighbors looking from their upstairs window?
What, too tall for that.
You know, so that, yeah, a fence.
It's not gonna, that would have to be very tall.
Fence would not address that concern.
Yeah, I mean,
It would help address people at street level on the sidewalks and that sort of thing.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, but that, you know, they'll have to, figure that out and then bring us with their plan and we'll talk about it. I think.
I mean, I think this discussion illustrates the need for something for us to see a comprehensive plan presented, because we're kind of bouncing around a lot of good ideas, but we're bouncing around because we haven't had a comprehensive plan presented, and I'd like to see one for something
Yeah.
on this scale.
No, that's fair, you know,
Will do.
and, you know, I'm personally mindful that we have to treat the town and the fire department like any other landowner here. We can't give some, you guys are doing public service, so we're not gonna follow the regs for you. We're not giving any waiver authority there.
Certainly not looking for any special treatment.
No, I know, but you hear what I mean,
And to be honest, that's why I think the permit application, you know, presented to us in the package should have been with the I's dotted and the T's crossed, but. I'm not gonna-
Yeah, I hear you, but,
Anyway, I do have a couple other things to raise, and they don't necessarily have to be answered here, but maybe at a subsequent presentation, I'd be satisfied not to have them answered here, but at a subsequent presentation. One is whether you would envision this being used as a venue for anything else besides Bristol Fire Department training. That is to say, any other kind of social events or training other people from other departments on other schedules, or having it be a venue for that sort of thing.
Better question?
yeah,
So to answer the first question, no, I don't see any social events occurring in those Conex boxes. But as far as training, we regularly train with our mutual aid partners, whether it be in their town or our town. So will mutual aid partners be on site utilizing that structure once in a while? Sure. I mean, maybe once a year, maybe twice a year. We don't regularly train with our mutual aid partners, but we do train with our.
that's
mutual aid
New Haven,
partners.
that's the
New Haven, Lincoln,
Moncton.
Starkville, Moncton.
And I would have asked the same, if I asked the same question, it would have been hoping that you answered exactly that. I think that those kind of shared facilities do make sense.
Absolutely. In the fire service, we have to share our resources because the cost is too great. Anything we do not to share our resources.
Honestly, I'd rather not see this built in all 5 towns. It would be stupid.
Right. I mean, I'm a big believer in mutual aid, but I think to evaluate its proposed impact or use, we need to know. So maybe one night a week or 3 times a month, it's used by Bristol Fire Department, but maybe 3 other times a month, it might be used by other folks. Some presentation of what that looks like going forward. If it's an unusual facility and it's useful, I imagine it would be a magnet for other departments and that sort of thing. So if you imagine that too, or if you want to rule that out, either way, that would matter to us, I think.
Well, or, you know, and at some level, use is use, regardless of, you know, if New Haven's using it for the same purpose as you do, use is use, doesn't matter who the fire.
Frequency of use.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter.
The
who
frequency of the
technologies.
intensity use is relevant.
Yeah,
I mean,
think
it
that's right.
mattered to my consideration personally, if you said, yeah, it's gonna be used, 8 days a week. I would think, well, I'm gonna look at it a little differently then, but.
Sure,
if it-
well,
Yeah,
So
if you invent an eighth day, we all gotta look at that.
You know what I mean?
I think that's against the regs.
Yeah, I think it's also against, basic
Genesis.
I don't know,
Yes.
some weeks feel like they have 2 or 3 Mondays in them. I don't know.
So I actually, there was in section 11, I did address hours of operation that we were proposing, which would be, it says training typically occurs on Wednesday nights from 7 to 9 PM. There are some Saturday trainings that may occur. Saturday trainings will not begin before 8 AM. So that was,
Yeah, that's hours,
yeah. And
but
that,
but frequency has been a little elusive. Although I have some better sense of it, but I think when you come back, it'd be nice to have to, quantify it. And this is difficult, John and Tom, you guys weren't here, for the Garfield, Street event, but
or I read the minutes, it looked like it was, you got quite a few neighbors and stuff, so I got it.
well, it's like, it's a 10-page decision, so.
Is it
here's
out?
the-
Could we see it?
Yes. Yeah, it's probably on the website, I don't, yeah.
it's not on the website, but
Yeah, it's out. But here's the
I'll email it
difficult,
to you, John.
here's the difficulty analytically. And it's just not easy, but for us to apply this, so. The site plan review section 90 says it's not conditional use. This is already a permitted use in the district. And we're supposed to look at, site plan is mostly about traffic flow and things like that. But then 390 reaches back to 356, which are the site-specific standards and conditional use for us to consider, and that's what Chris has gone through 1 through 12. So fit in the actual fit of the use with the surroundings does matter at some level, but it's also not, we're not to engage in conditional use review. So it's one of those things, it's a fine line to walk sometimes. That we don't want to slip into conditional use review. On the other hand, we do have to look at those site-specific standards like landscaping and things like that, and ours is part of 390.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I think you're right to point out the distinction here, because it's a firehouse, and it's a firehouse permitted. These people live on Firehouse Lane. It's an existing condition. That's why some of that training and other kinds of things is going on outside already. It's to be expected in theory, when the code was written, it allowed it to be in there. That's anticipated. I don't know whether it really was, but this is a little bit of an extension of the use, because you're putting a training facility in. But I basically think it's a very appropriate use back there. However, I do think we should make an effort to lessen the effect on neighbors, and I personally really need to see some screening. But other than that, I'm very for this use.
Yeah, I'm in Tom's camp on that. And so when this most recent edition of the regs came around, Tom, whatever that was, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It was, we had struggled a bit with the previous regs in this area when the firehouse was permitted. And so we didn't have something like existing, or was it the emergency facility, or we didn't have those types of things in the old reg. And so when we had the firehouse on Firehouse Lane, and so when the new regs were proposed, they knew it was in ROC, and we got a permitted use as emergency service facility. So it actually, when the PC had developed the new regs, they actually did have the firehouse property in mind, and maybe the police station being there, and let's make it easy for this zone. Whereas previously it wasn't so easy.
Yeah. Well, it's not unusual, at least in my experience, that highly specific uses like like firehouses and all the things that happen are not written up. I mean, a lot of times the code isn't so specific about that kind of stuff.
Right,
A lot of
sometimes-
it's assumed, sort of
Some,
you know.
or they're exempted. Sometimes municipal uses like that are exempted.
Exempted completely. Yeah, yes. In
Yeah.
other states, they are fully exempted, or they have just a procedure where you come in and talk about it, but the board doesn't actually get to vote. It's weird.
Yep. Well, when I pulled up the 2015 decision on the firehouse earlier, because I remembered, everybody thought it was a great site, but the existing regulations at the time didn't fit the need so well. And we had to wedge it under in part community center or community facility because it had a broad definition and, so. But that was then, this is now we don't have
That's
those
helpful.
square things.
That's helpful background, and it has changed a little bit because the ROC permits what we have there, and now we have residential nearby. So then I think it changes a little bit our review, because we have to be aware of the fact that it has been developed resident. If honestly, if it was all industrial behind it, I wouldn't be concerned about screening or anything.
Me too.
Mix the uses back there, then I think.
Yep, no, I feel the same way. So you wanna pick a date, give you enough of,
We ask the applicant how long they think they need to be ready.
that's what we're doing. I'm asking Chris. Correct.
30 days.
You think?
Again, we're talking, my understanding is you want a landscaping plan and a comprehensive site where you want roads and any additional site.
Yeah, and I think it'd be a good idea to put on that site plan where the hypothetical parking lot and the hypothetical police station would be. For us to, I like this, I like that, I think that's helpful because we need to think of the future
No problem.
on the site plan,
They're just differently, Kevin. I think all they can give us is hypothetical. We can't require a site plan until it's for something.
No, I agree, but since they're gonna be showing us screening, I think it'd be helpful for us to see that what places need to be left unencumbered for the future police station parking lot.
Okay, well, I'm not worried about screening it to the front, so I'm only worried about screening it to the buildings on the other side. So, okay, fair.
Yeah, to the east.
I believe I can have those plans created and ready for you for November 7th. I feel comfortable with that date.
Do we have anything else on that date?
You have
What are we doing with Masterson?
that's what you need to talk about.
Yeah, I know, but when do they wanna go to?
End of November. They want
Okay.
30 more days.
Yeah.
You have a preliminary sketch plan for the DMV properties on North 116 that you saw the sketch plan
Yeah.
6 months ago on. That's the only other thing that I think is on that date
Don't remember. Okay,
for lot
So-
subdivision.
so you wanna, go to the 7th?
Yes, please.
All right, I move that we, continue this hearing, to November 7th, to enable, the applicant to provide the additional information we've talked about tonight.
Second.
All those in favor? Do you have something else, Brett?
It was brought up earlier about the communication or perhaps lack thereof with the neighbors who occupy firehouse apartments. Would it appease this board if I went and had a conversation and brought back like a?
Sure, and those things are always helpful, but yes.
I am the face of that fire department. I have befriended everybody who's to our east, to our west, the people who built the buildings. Every time we blow the air horn, I go knock on the neighbor's door to give them a heads up. That's the type of courtesy I bring to the table, and I'm happy to do that.
Those things-
That would be.
Those things are always
this
helpful,
process.
not required, but always helpful.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't require that, but in my personal experience, I can tell you that getting ahead of that sort of thing and letting people know and give them a chance to ask questions always is positive for their long-term relationship,
So I don't know if it's staffed yet, but there's an office over there in the firehouse apartment.
It's only gonna be staffed 2 or 3 days a week.
Yeah, so.
There was people there today.
Do you have a contact
I do.
with the firehouse department folks? All right, so I guess start there, and,
Okay,
you know, and.
work through them, you're suggesting.
Yeah, I think, well, they're the landowner, if they, you know, they say, yeah, we don't have a problem, and that's, the more you talk to neighbors, that's fine, they're the owner, so, you have to start there. Yeah, John?
Just another thing, maybe you guys, again, I'll lay it out there and we can address it if necessary later, but, I just wonder, like, do you, almost like a swimming pool needs to be fenced to keep, you know, kids or whatever out of it. Do you worry about access to this, like off hours when nobody's around and it's dark? And like, if I were a 10-year-old, I would work really hard to get inside that thing, you know, or on top of it or whatever. And I just wonder if that's a consideration.
It's a great question, and something that was right at the top of the list was security of the facility, because what we did not want is like a chain link fence around it, just because aesthetically it would look terrible. But what are they? They're big metal shipping containers that will be secured with locks. So any of the training props that we utilize them will be secured inside the structure when it's not in use. So I guess the only concern would be is perhaps we might have to consider on the roof of that single story comics box is increasing the railing, you know, the space. So, you know, somebody who had a 4-foot step ladder can jump up on that roof if that's a concern. But yeah, security of the building is, we don't want people to access it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's,
Brett, can I ask a question? I heard you say the locks, and I understand that completely. The container's already set up for that. The ladder's gonna get lifted? The ladder we see won't come to the ground where you could climb up on it?
There will be no ladders left out. Any ladders that we utilize are either came off the vehicle, which need to go back on the vehicle, and any spare ladders that we currently have will be secured within the
Yeah,
comic box.
okay, I got it. I mean,
Yeah.
if there's kids in the housing, and I'm sure there are, I'm with John. I'd be there in a minute.
That's as equally as a concern as it
You know,
is
the
a child.
12-year-old me would be absolutely climbing up that ladder going, you know. So I agree that I would want to do that.
Yeah, that was actually one of the things when we first sat down and designed this, was just that. We knew the apartments were coming. We knew that there would be children involved. And we all were children once, and we all knew that exactly that. The big play structure.
Yeah,
that
it would
just
have been all of us guys. We would have been out there hanging out. It'd be our fort.
I mean,
up there.
because of that, one of the changes we had originally, the heat source, the boiler was actually gonna be exterior of the structure. But thinking it through, that didn't make any sense. So we moved it inside of the structure for safety and to keep A, vandalism, and B, if last thing we want, some little kid going over there and touching a hot piece of steel after we've been using it.
Sure, that makes good sense.
In addition to the aesthetics, you know, looking at some landscaping, some shrubs or what have you. Chris said it right at the beginning of this meeting, you know, it is 100% our intent to keep that facility painted. You know, I know they're just metal shipping containers at the end of the day, but if you know me at all, I'm very particular about that facility and what the grounds look like.
Yeah.
And so we'll continue to make it look appealing.
I kind of like the fire engine red too. I think it's kind of cool.
Although I like that too, although I would say there's an opportunity there for a lot of artists who might want to have a side of that or do something that makes it, who knows, it's a blank canvas, you could have some
Yeah,
fun.
but graffiti's not so much a Vermont thing. Let's hope that doesn't.
But you could have some fun with it, it might be interesting.
Yeah, but they'll have lots of cans of red paint they'll have to be putting back on it. All right.
So, I think we voted, but if not, let's all vote again on the continuation to the 7th. So
Yes, we
we
did.
got 5-0. All right, we're done with that. And now we need to convene. Thank you, Brett.
Yeah.
So next item is permit number 23-301. This is the Masterson development down on Lower Notch. That we all remember, I think, was it had the staging area for topsoil and such, and for a contractor's yard up by the house. So
Yep.
we had continued from August or July out to this time. They were coming back with sound engineer or sound expert
In 2 weeks,
and maybe more, and they're coming in on the
24th.
24th, but that's gonna be too tight for them.
Yeah, so part of the motion that you all had was that the results of the traffic and noise studies would be available 2 weeks in advance to all
Get to
interested
the other
parties.
side, yeah.
The traffic part is complete, the noise study was supposed to have been completed on Friday, unfortunately, I found out Saturday that they got noticed that the noise company or whoever, whatever you wanna call them, engineers had COVID run through their building for about 2 weeks, and they are 2 to 3 weeks out.
Okay,
So they requested a 30 to,
we gotta give them a solid date though, so.
well, can you do that here, because you moved it, do you have to convene in 2 weeks for a moment and then
Well-
make the motion there?
Well, I'd be, are we coming in on the 28th anyway?
I have nothing else that date. I can get you a sketch, I have a sketch plan that would probably be ready for you.
I mean, the rules are actually pretty strict on this, and we've got, it's a hot application, so I wouldn't want to try to be creative.
I did it this
You
way.
know, yeah, so, I mean, we've already continued to the 28th.
24th, right?
24th? Right, today's the 10th. Yeah, no, it may be that if it turns out that that's the only thing on the agenda, we still have to show up. I'll show up live, everybody else can be remote, we still have to open the meeting and vote to push it off to another date certain. But if we have sketch plan or something else on that, in 2 weeks, then, you know, it's an easy thing to do after the sketch plan's done.
Yes. So the other thing that just, I was just looking at the calendar when you were talking calendars.
Oh,
The 7th is actually the first Tuesday, the 14th is the second.
okay,
Do you need to make an amendment to your motion?
yep.
Got it.
All right, so we have to, the 7th is the first Tuesday of November, we need to, I'll move that we, rescind the continuation to the 7th and move it to November 14th, which is the second Tuesday of the month, which is one of our regular meeting days. I need a second.
That's for the firehouse.
That is correct.
Right,
I second.
Yes, yeah, I agree, yes,
all in favor?
I,
All right, Brenda, yes.
Thank
I'll vote.
you.
So, hopefully there's something else on, the 24th. But if not, we'll still need a quorum, to push it off to another date certain, so make yourself available, even if only for 5 minutes.
so Masterson is currently on, but we know it won't happen. Okay, got it.
Right,
And just a question about that Masterson thing, I was just reviewing stuff from prior meetings, and I noticed the attorney for the neighbors was asking for those studies as well in a certain, I think it was 2 weeks or more in advance.
that's why we're doing this tonight. That's why it came up tonight.
All right.
They already, yeah.
Yep.
That's.
I want to make sure we don't get to that date and they're like, we haven't gotten these,
Right,
then we'd be delayed again, so.
Would it be, proper for me to reach out to Jim Dumont to let him know that there is a scheduling?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't want to reach out, I didn't want to reach outside of my,
No,
No,
no.
because now we've done it, it's public, it's done in the minutes, so, and encourage Masterson, to get that information out.
ASAP.
Yeah, if it's, you know, 2 week minimum, but if you can get it, if they can get it out three weeks into the more advanced.
Which is why Greg asked, instead of moving it to the 14th, to push
Yeah.
it out probably to the end of November.
Yeah.
Just so they have
No,
ample time to get to that information out.
Absolutely, that's right.
And just for a point of order, I don't know, like, this is be really informative, like, so how does this work? So we get an information from an applicant in an instance like this. Is it incumbent on the town to send it to the parties, or is it incumbent upon the applicant to send it directly to the parties?
I think we left it that the applicant was disseminating the information to the other side. Is that right? I think that's how we left it, yeah.
Yeah, but we can certainly let them know if it's publicly filed, but I think we made it pretty clear to them, if they didn't get it to the other side 2 weeks in advance, then the other side wants to object, we're not gonna have their hearing, so they got to do it.
Right,
Just a quick thing for you, Chris, while we're talking about, I thought that it worked extremely well with Peggy taking minutes by Zoom, and I wouldn't have thought that prior to this whole experience. So, I mean, I think when in your hiring again, hopefully that would make this job pretty attractive.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hate doing minutes.
I've
Yeah.
pitched a couple people on it. Like some good people who I think would be great note takers. I'm like, this is a plum little job. Like,
yeah.
You know.
Stay at home and do it.
and it's
You
Yeah.
gotta be able to take notes and type it up.
is it 2
And-
meetings a week, Chris?
It's actually, they're looking for potentially 3 to 4 meetings a week. It's basically every Tuesday. Because I have planning commission and DRB, and it's Tuesdays that we are looking for somebody to take minutes.
I mean, it's a great gig,
And again, back to what you're saying, it's not only can you zoom in, but the recording's available the next morning. So you can use that. That's how I do it. I use that as a refresher as I'm doing minutes. So it's pretty easy.
For what it's worth, there are outside internet services that'll make minutes out of Zoom recordings, because I have a couple of boards that do that now. Honestly, they're a little overly detailed and they need to be edited, but there is a commercial company that'll do that.
yeah, they'll err on the side of inclusion.
Well, they're very inclusive. They have a tendency, rather than want to leave anything out, they make for some very long minutes. But
Yeah,
they-
well, they're getting paid by the hour probably too, so.
And honestly, I think it's mostly AI, to be honest with you, doing it.
Could be.
I don't think it's real people, because I've seen the minutes and they're pretty complete.
That's
And-
interesting.
But
Alright.
they're also if people are maybe not as enunciate as clearly as they could, they miss words.
All right, can we call it a night?
Thank you. I'll move to adjourn.
All right, second,
Second,
all in favor, aye.
all right.
We're
Thanks.
calling it a night.
Thanks,
Okay.
everybody.
Night,